All right, the last thing to figure out how much these lamps cost us to make is figuring out the overhead. Overhead is all of the stuff that we can't directly trace to the lamp itself, but we have to spend the money to make the lamps. For example, we can't run our facility without electricity. So we need to pay for electricity. We need to pay for the building, maybe the rent on it, or maybe we own it and so we need to pay a mortgage or whatever it is. Or we might have a depreciation or something like that. So all of these things, we can't say, all right, this lamp used so many kilowatt hours of electricity. It's just really hard to trace electricity directly to a lamp. So we just say, all right, let's just say what's the total electricity and divide that up among all of the lamps that we're producing. So that's overhead. It comes in two varieties, either variable or fixed. Variable overhead, if you remember from previous chapters, goes up for each lamp that we produce. So if we make more lamps, we will probably use more electricity. Whereas our rent on the manufacturing facility doesn't matter how many lamps we produce, the rent is the same, and that is fixed overhead. So we're going to need to calculate these two things separately. First of all, we're going to look at the variable overhead. Now, this is a guess. We're not, in this video, we're not getting into how do we figure out the guesses and how do we figure out what we do with when our guess is wrong. That's not the purpose of this video. We're just going to go with what do we do, how do we determine or budget the overhead here. So our variable overhead rate, which could be like electricity or something, is $3 per direct labor hour. Now, some companies do it on direct materials, some on direct labor. It just varies how they allocate the variable overhead. This company is doing it based on direct labor hours, so we're going to have to use the hours from our direct labor budget. All right, so we are going to pull the beginning number from somewhere. In this case, it's not all the time, but in this case, we are using direct labor hours, so we are going to pull it from our direct labor budget. So Q1 is 2,550 hours that we're using, and we're saying, all right, for every hour that we are paying our employees, it costs us $3 more in variable overhead like electricity and things like that. So we'll say $3 per direct labor hour. That equals out to 7,650. All right, let's do the same thing for Q2. This was 3,100 hours. Again, multiply that by $3 per direct labor hour in extra costs, and that is 9,300. Okay, so that's our variable costs. Again, if we pay our employee $20 per hour, there's $3 extra in expenses. Electricity for running the machines, or maybe it's extra employee costs such as taxes that we have to pay on them, whatever it is. That we can't directly trace to the materials, but it's a pretty good guess at how much this is costing us. In addition, we also have fixed overhead like depreciation and things like that. So it could be the rent. That's not going to change based on how much we pay our employees. Rent's going to be the same. Depreciation is going to be the same. So let's just add that in. Sometimes this changes from quarter to quarter. This problem is just saying it's $10,000 per quarter. So add those two in, and we get 17,650 in overhead for the first quarter and 19,300 in overhead for the second quarter. All right, so we now have our 3 different manufacturing budgets. So we started with sales, we figured out how much we need to produce, how much in materials we're going to need, how much in direct labor, and then finally manufacturing overhead. So now the next step that we're going to look at is let's combine all of these numbers to figure out how much a lamp actually costs us to produce.